Alright everybody, welcome back to the channel. If you're new around here, my name's Jazz Vader, and in today's video, we're going to be ranking every Season 4 in Fortnite history from worst to best. Now, just quickly, if you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. We're well on the way to 1,000 subscribers, so any help is appreciated. But hey, without further ado, let's just dive straight into the Season 4 ranking. And starting off this list, at the number 6 spot, it's Chapter 3 Season 4 Paradise. Yeah, dude, I mean, this season, it gets slandered and dogged on like every other week by the community. It's potentially one of the worst seasons we've ever had, and it is by far the worst season out of Chapter 3. I mean, for one thing, all the map changes this season, you know, they were literally just half of the map getting coated in an ugly grey sludge and ruining the locations they were at. It was so bad looking, and it made the locations it affected a disadvantage to land at, you know, especially with how the chrome worked. You could literally just walk through the walls in any single one of these locations, like nowhere was safe. You couldn't hide in a roof, you couldn't hide in a hut, you couldn't hide in a box that you built. When I say that nowhere was safe in this season, I mean it. You had nowhere to hide in. Now listen, I gotta say, you did definitely have some really cool items in this season. The loot pool in this season was super experimental. They had so many cool items like the explosive goo gun and the evil chrome weapons, which would actually level up as you eliminated more players. It was super interesting, but honestly, I think the concept of that weapon has been executed 1,000 times better with the more recent warfight weapons added to reload. The level up feature on this gun, which was a huge part of the gameplay loop for this season, by the way, it just didn't fit how BR works at all. You know, you'd have to get like a 15 bomb every single match if you wanted a fully leveled up one. Or you could just pick up a gold hammer. I don't think anybody was taking this thing unless it was in like a high rarity, which is even more of a shame because it was actually really good once it got to those higher rarities. You also had the chrome splash, which I'll talk about the movement part of it a little bit later, but for its basic use, you'd just throw it onto the ground and it would turn any prop in the surrounding area, including walls, into chrome, which you could walk through. I don't know, I'm really trying to think of any more positives to talk about for this season, but I honestly cannot think of anything else. It was such a miserable season, it didn't add anything new to the game, it didn't have great movement whatsoever, and I consider movement to be the make or break of a season. I mean, the new locations this season brought to the table were literally just worse versions of ones we already had. The whole season had a really sluggish and clunky feeling meta, and all around, it was just a super crappy end to the chapter. It's such a shame. Chapter 3 deserved so much better to end it off. It was such a generational chapter. It should have been goated, but unfortunately, it ended off in a stinker, and that's why it's at the number 6 spot on this list. And following that one up, at the number 5 spot on this list is Chapter 5 Season 4 Absolute Doom. yeah, I'm ready for the barrage of Chapter 5 fans coming in to absolutely dog on me for putting this down here. But seriously, you guys gotta take off whatever tinted glasses you have on, because this season was mostly dog water as well, you know? I mean, let me just list off a few of the items this season brought to the table. You had Captain America's lock-on shield, you had the auto turret, the hover jets, the chainsaw. I mean, come on, what a menace of a lineup. When I say this season was more broken than wrecked, I mean it with all my heart. Zero build was literally unplayable this season. Like, it got to the point where it started to push me towards playing builds. You know, the whole reason I play builds nowadays, you know, Chapter 7 Season 2, is because of this season. It was just that unfair. If you comboed the jets and the shield together, then you would literally just win matches with like 20 to 25 eliminations in your belt. It was insane. Hey, but you know what? Enough talking about how broken the season's weapon meta was. I'm going to cover the new locations this season brought to the table, obviously being the Raft, Doomstat, Doom's Courtyard, and Castle Doom. Honestly, these POIs were some of the best we got out of Chapter 5 outside of maybe Mount Olympus and Hazy Hillside. These locations, you know, I'm going to give Chapter 5 people your flowers. These locations they were actually really good feeling locations. I loved landing at each and every single one of them. I remember dropping at Castle Doom literally every single match because it was just that good. Yeah, I'm definitely going to give this season its prompts. When it did something well, it did it really well, especially with the Fortnite bears this year, which I consider to be one of the greatest of all time. Once they removed the jets during that Fortnite bears, I started to actually really enjoy that season. Listen, love it or hate it, you got to admit, Chapter 5 Season 4, it was a very mixed bag. I mean, there was a lot of bad stuff, and some really good stuff sprinkled in. And while I don't think the good really properly cancelled out the bad, I think they came pretty close, honestly. And there's definitely a world out there where this season was one of the best of all time, but unfortunately, it wasn't. And I honestly just think there have been better seasons overall, both in balance and in gameplay. And one of those better seasons, coming up next at the number 4 spot on this list, is definitely one people either don't think much about or glaze it like it changed their lives, and it is Chapter 6 Season 4 Super. Now, if you're wondering why this is in the Season 4 ranking, then I did explain it in my Season 3 ranking video. You should totally go check that out, by the way, but I am ranking the 4th season of every chapter, not strictly every Season 4. This just means we get to fit in the mini-seasons, you know, like OG, Remix, and Galactic Battle by turning them into Season 5s and 3s respectively. And in the case of Chapter 6 Season 3, I don't know guys, this one just didn't really gel for me at all. I mean, you had some super cool stuff added in that season, like the kill switch revolvers, which were actually super cool and are one of my favorite weapons in Fortnite history. You also had the addition of the wingshot glider, which was insane. You'd just see like somebody flying towards you at like Mach 3 and they'd just absolutely dome you like 220 to the head with a shotgun. You also had some really mediocre exotics added, like the bouncy grenades, which were literally just a waste of a slot, and you had the icy shotgun, which would just make the enemy screen, have a seizure, and mildly annoy them. Honestly, the only really good exotic out of that bunch was the Yoink shotgun. I mean, that genuinely made for such a fun meta, and I mean, I was dropping like gold shotguns for it. I love that thing. It felt uniquely Fortnite. It could have only ever come out in this game. Honestly, the meta this season, it was just great, and that's why I think it's so devastating how much the movement in this season let it down. Like, I mean, outside of shockwaves, the movement this season just felt super clunky and super awkward, and I really just didn't like it. The base boost felt super slow, and it ran out of charges like really quickly. The surfboard was pretty good, honestly, but again, it just had low durability. The shockwave pistol was barely a mobility item. It was really mediocre, and it was only really good for distracting the enemies. I'm sorry, I wanted to love this season. Everything about this season, you know, it spoke to me, but it just kind of felt really slow paced, and I just don't like seasons where the best movement available is shockwaves and cars, and this season was for sure one of them. In my opinion, it is the epitome of a perfectly mediocre season, you know? It's not bad in any single way, but it's not really too heavy on the good side either. It's just a little bit too slow paced on the gameplay side of things, and it personally just wasn't for me. But I sure enjoyed it a heck of a lot more than Absolute Doom, and that's why it's at the number 4 spot on this list. And coming up next, at the number 3 spot on this list, it's one of the best seasons in early Fortnite, and you know what, even Chapter 1 as a whole, I love this season to bits and pieces. It's so much fun, and it is Chapter 1 Season 4. I mean, what do I even say about this season? Everything there is to be said about this season has already been said before by so many other people. It's just one of the best seasons of all time. Of course, it was the first story-based season, and it brought what was the first major map change since Season 2, with Dusty Depot being hit by the meteor and being replaced by the much superior Dusty Divot. And to be honest, a great way to describe the season is definitely first. It just had a ton of firsts for the game, and it helped carve the game into what it became today. It introduced Hop Rocks, which would literally change the way movement was handled in Fortnite forever. I mean, it laid the path for things like the Shockwave and the most recent Overdrive grenade. The game itself would literally be completely different if it wasn't for this single throwaway item. Also, as I very briefly mentioned, it also started the Fortnite storyline as we know it today, which was a huge part of the game for a lot of people. It's why I started playing the game, and it's still going strong to this day. And with the addition of this storyline also came with the first live event, which was revolutionary for its time, and it changed what video games could do as a medium. I mean, even the season itself, you know, we're going to talk about the map locations it got. It got tons of new little locations dotted around, filling up the map. It had the movie sets and the superhero layers. You also had the addition of Risky Reels, which I nearly forgot to mention, which also brought the infamous 7 chest quest, if you know, you know. Yeah, I mean, this season, it was definitely a season of new things. It added a ton of stuff that is key to the game, even if it was a little bit basic compared to newer seasons. You know, what are you gonna do? It was early Fortnite. It was still fantastic, and that's why it's at the number 3 spot on this list. But hey, following that one up, coming up next at the number 2 spot on this list, it is Chapter 4 Season 4. And honestly, what a fun Fortnite season. This was one of my favorite seasons ever at the time, and I think it's such a shame it constantly gets overshadowed by seasons like Earthbound and Mega. I mean, you had so many fantastic items like the Rocket Ram, one of the better movement items released around that time, and the business turrets, which I definitely think, yeah, this is always how a lock-on turret should work. You should never be able to wear one. You know, you had the Twin Mag Assault Rifle, which is one of the best scoped ARs the game has ever had. It was incredible, and that's even without talking about, you know, the buffed Maven shotgun. I know it didn't strictly release in Chapter 4 Season 4, but it got a major buff in this season, and it made it one of my favorite shotguns of all time. I mean, I loved it so much, and I think it clears the Infiltrator pump that released the same season. I know that thing has a ton of fans. I don't know how. I hate that thing so much. It's one of the worst pumps in the game's history, and it doesn't stand a chance against exotics like the High-Stud Accelerant and the Heavy Breacher. I mean, while I'm on the note of, like mythics and exotics, I'm gonna touch on the main feature of the season, which was the Revenant Vaults. I mean, the gameplay loop provided by these vaults was easily one of the most fun parts about this season. You'd literally just land on one of these locations, you take out everybody that was sitting there, you go down to the basement of the building, and when you eventually got past all of these defenses, you could choose between one of two mythics. You'd literally smash the glass, everything would go red, all the alarms would go off, all the guards would come down to you. It was insane. It was the best part about that season, and I remember I would actually just hop on simply to do that and then leave the game immediately just so I could do it again. I mean, you'd also be able to get some goated mythics from these vaults. You had the Midas Drum Gun, the Bottomless Chug Jug, you had the Kaboom Bow. I mean, it was an insane selection of items. I just think they slightly missed the mark by not adding back the mythic goldfish. It would have been so much fun to be able to have that instead of having like a 1 in a million chance to fish it up. But I could also understand why they passed on adding it. I mean, that thing is like completely fallen off with like sprinting and sliding. But apart from that minor hiccup, this season was basically executed perfectly, and I have next to nothing to say about it in a negative light. It still remained to be one of the best Fortnite seasons of all time, and I love it with all of my heart. But, as you guys might have noticed, it's not at the top of the list. So, what is? And coming up next, sitting all the way at the #1 spot, it could only be one season, and it is Chapter 2 Season 4, Nexus War. I mean, do I even really need to say anything about this season? Obviously, coming off the back of 2 of the greatest seasons of all time, being Chapter 2 Season 2 and 3, Nexus War had frankly ridiculous boots to fill, but it still managed in its own kind of like weird way, and it became another all-timer. Honestly, I always forget how generational early Chapter 2 was. Honestly, with how mid Chapter 2 got towards the end of its tenure, I always forget how generational the first 4 seasons of that chapter was. Of course, this was the first collaboration season. I believe we've only had a few since this one, and this is by far the best they've ever done it. It perfectly ran the balance between being Fortnite-y and being collaboration themed, which is definitely something I think Epic Games sort of lost going forward with seasons like Galactic Battle and the Simpsons mini-season. It's not too in your face, it's not like Marvel, look at this, it's Marvel literally from the Marvel films. It feels like Marvel came to Fortnite instead of Fortnite adding Marvel to the game. I mean, you also had some of the best locations the game has ever had. You had the upgraded Pleasant Park with Doom's Castle in the middle of it, the whole Stark Injustice Island, which was just frankly incredible. It's one of the best updates we've ever had. They also added tons of new gameplay features like the superpowers you could find and use across the map, and the Quinjets that would show up at the start of every match. They'd make for a new location to drop every single time. Also, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it was the first time the Battle Bus sequence was changed in a significant way. They did actually change the Battle Bus into a sleeker design as lead up to the Galactus event, which was one of the best events in Fortnite history, and it was honestly super cool to see the changes to the bus update in real time. I mean, come on, this season had so many cool little details and so many great additions that I don't even have the time to mention, like the Gorger battles and the amazing mythics that the bosses brought to the loot pool. It more than deserves all the glaze that it gets, and it more than deserves to be sat at the #1 spot on this list. Alright everybody, thank you so much for sticking all the way till the end. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Like I said, we're on the way to 1,000 subscribers, so any help is appreciated. And hey, we also have a Discord server, so if you want to join that, we have an amazing community. We host tons of minigames all the time. You'll also get notified when my videos go live, and I can't wait to see you there. But you know what? At the end of the day, all you really have to do is stay safe, drink some water, and have a fantastic day. Bye bye!